I'm Narelle Todd.
And I'm Essie Susan Smith.
We are the self-publishing author and marketing duo that has sold over 2 million books. But we didn't start out knowing how to sell books. Fast forward past many failed promotions and a lot of lessons learned, you will see how we went from self-publishing newbies to hitting the New York Times bestsellers list and making the USA Today bestsellers list 19 times and counting. We created the Get My Book Out There podcast to give you simple yet effective marketing strategies to increase readership and book sales, so you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, as well as some tips for staying mentally and physically well.
Let's get started.
Absolutely. We are looking at mindset this week, and you know that this is the thing that I bang on about all the time. I actually think that mindset is the secret sauce.
Ooh, banging, huh?
Yes,
So
yes.
let's get into banging number one.
You know how people talk about, they're looking for the next shiny object or whatever kind of, phrases they use. So I call this the secret sauce, because I think that you can be using the right tactics, but if your mindset is not where it needs to be, then it really doesn't matter what tactics you're using. You're going to find it hard to make traction. So let's have a look at 3 things that we have found about mindset and the things that you need to do in order to really, strengthen that mindset and grow your resilience as an author. So our first point is to value yourself and your stories. This is a real hard one. I see this with authors all the time. Susan, have you come across that by chance?
I think I have it every single time I write a book, especially when I start getting towards the end. I had that same feeling today of, oh my God, this book's not going to be any good. I need to start all over. And I'm already like 3/4 of the way in. And then I go back and I read the story and I'm thinking, I wrote that. Wow, this is really good. But every single story that I've ever written, I've always had that self-doubt that has just about said, you know what, stop writing. You're not any good at this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, as creatives, it's really easy to get caught up in that concept that my story's not good enough. And it can be for anything, really, any creative. So with authors, my story's not good enough. Say anyone else, it's, their product or their service is not good enough. And this is where it's really important to understand the value that you bring and the value that your stories have for readers. And I think that then helps you be able to then put a cost figure on your books as well when it comes to selling. So you're not giving them all away, or you're not selling them at 99 cents or something ridiculous like that.
And this is one of the things I think has been the hardest for me to learn and to overcome, because like I said, I had just that feeling today where I wasn't valuing myself and I wasn't valuing what I was giving the readers. And yet when I went back and I have these self-doubts, and then I go back and I read what I've written and I realize this is really good. Yes, it is good for the readers. It's better than the last book that I produced, which has always been one of the things I've tried to do, is always make the next book better than the last. So it's kind of my own personal challenge. And then being willing to say it's worth that price that I'm asking. When I go to the store, which I just came back from a little while ago, and I see the prices, and if anything, maybe I should be charging a little bit more, but I realize that I am providing something of great value to a great many people. So I shouldn't be afraid to share that.
Yeah. And so one tip here, a practical tip, is to keep a little dossier or a file of things, comments readers have made. Just put that to a side. And whenever you feel like your stories aren't good enough, or you're questioning the value, go and have a look at those, and they will just remind you of the impact that your stories have had on your readers.
And it's funny because some of the readers out there are mind readers, because I'll be feeling this way and then I'll get a comment or I'll get an email going, oh my God, I love your stories, and this is what it's done for me. And that's one of the things that helps, like you said, keep that list. It's going to grow over time, but it's one of the things that, I keep going back to, and it keeps me moving forward and pushing away those self-doubts.
Yeah, because of course, just on a practical side of thing, from a business perspective, if you're giving away your books or you're selling them for 99 cents, you're not going to be in business for long. Valuing yourself, there's not only that intrinsic and that personal feeling of worth, but also by valuing your books at a price that allows you to stay in business, allows you to keep writing. And then the more books you sell, obviously, then, you may be able to give up your other job to write full time. So you get to actually live the life and do what you want to do.
And the readers point that out. They say that they don't mind paying. They value your work because they realize that it has meaning to them. If I don't value it, how can I expect them to value it? And if they do value it, they're willing to pay. I know I am. I'm willing to pay that extra few dollars over the 99 cents because I realize I really love this and I want them to be able to produce more. And the only way they can produce more is if they have the time and the ability to do it.
Yes, so important. Value, I think, of the three, valuing yourself in your stories is key.
Okay, so what is tip number 2?
Number 2 is to fail fast and be okay with failing. And that's so hard. I totally get this. A bit of a perfectionist amongst other things. So it's really hard it was really hard to go, oh, that didn't work. Or like you then take time to, kick yourself and like, oh, it should have worked. It didn't work. Now it's like, it didn't work, right? Let's move on to the next thing. Let's try this. So that resilience in being able to say, failure is just learning. And the more I learn, the more I'm going to get better at my art or at marketing. So learning to fail and fail fast, I think, is key too.
Well, it's also, if you're not afraid of the failing, then you're afraid to try new things. If you don't try new things, you're never going to grow. I can honestly say I have been there and done that. There have been things that I've tried that I'm like, ooh, that wasn't such a great idea. After all, it's like, okay, the 4 a.m. ideas, really think hard on them before you enact them. But the biggest thing that I've learned is that some things you may not succeed right away, but you're setting up a foundation for later on. So they may not exactly be a failure, but you need to know the difference. You need to know, okay, no, that did not work. I'm not doing that anymore. Like you said, fast before you get so entrenched that it's like you're going to spend all your energy trying to make that a success. And there's nothing that you can do to do that. But there's other things that you may try that may not be a complete success right at first, but you're laying the foundation so that it may be a year from now before they come to fruition. But you need to be able to overcome that fear of failure, I guess, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure. And which leads into our third point, because they're closely related. The third point is around confidence and courage to kind of buck the trend. Being able or being okay with failing means that you're going to be trying different things. So that's on one side. On the other side, we've also then looking at, well, what are other people doing? You may be doing courses or taking a training with somebody and they say, well, go do this. Then becomes a bit of a judgment call for you, because you're like going, okay, well, I'll try that, but it didn't work. Do you stick with it or do you fail fast and move on to something else? So it's then the balancing act, and this is where the courage comes in, and the confidence as well. The balancing act of saying, is this a failure or is this something that's just going to take time and I just need to keep the faith that it's going to work for me?
Well, another thing that I've learned, and the years that I've been doing this, is that I may learn something that somebody is doing a specific way, and that specific way may work for them, but it doesn't work for me. But there are components of what they're doing that do. And so what I do is I take the best of multiple things and I put them all together that works for me, and I own it. I create it to myself.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's part of the confidence and the courage, is being able to say, well, you try the whole thing and then take out of it the parts that work and use that for you, rather than saying, or say throwing the whole thing out. So, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, keep on going, even though it's not working for you. But when you've got confidence in your own marketing and you can say, okay, well, this bit seemed to be working, I'm going to keep this, I'm not going to do this part. That is a strength that you need to have, and something that only comes by doing, really. I don't think any of us are necessarily born with that. It's something that we just need to massage and work that muscle.
Well, trusting in your gut and not being afraid of failure. And if you do fail at it, make sure that you fail fast and you move on. When you start feeling down, get that dossier out and start reading all those comments that said, these are all the things that you're doing that are right. So don't give up.
And I always say, choose 3 tactics and work those 3 tactics for 3 months. So if you're a bit unsure, so here's the practical tip. If you're a little bit unsure, is it working? Is it not working? What do I do here? Just do 3 tactics. You really can't manage more than that, and work them for 3 months. Take out the bits that work, keep the whole bit that works, or, the bits and pieces, put them all together, and then start another 3-month cycle, maybe adding in some other marketing tactics in there. But you've got to give it time to work. But just be mindful that there's a time limit on it too. So, which is where, fail fast comes in. Don't let it drag on for a year if it's not working.
Exactly.
Test it. Well, comes back to test and measure too.
These are 3 fabulous tips that I hope people really take to heart, because I've seen how each one has affected my own personal growth over the last almost 10 years in the writing industry and just being in business. It's just common sense strategies, no matter what business you're in.
Yes, when tactics or when ideas seem simple, we kind of gloss over them. And that would be a real shame if people listening were to do that. These tactics and the tips that we've shared are simple, but they're also really profound. And so I'd just love to see you put them into place and then let us know, how are they working for you? What did you find that you needed to change? What sort of mindset shifts are you making? So let us know in the comments. Anything else that you want to know about with regards to mindset, ask, let us know, and we can cover that in another podcast.
I look forward to it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We've got way more information we want to share with you to increase your book sales. So please come and join me at facebook.com. Get my book out there.